Welcome to the Urantia book. We are looking at two presentations of spirituality and a path towards understanding truth today. We're going to look at this presentation by Sadhguru. I think that's how you pronounce it. Sadhguru was asked if God exists. If you're not familiar, he is probably one of the most well-known gurus of the modern era. And he's a very wise and reasonable teacher. I'm not presenting this to try to knock him or anything like that. We're trying to go beyond. Because remember, a wise man or woman lives by what truth we can find today. And we're wholly ready to call it falsehood tomorrow. Because that way we're ready for the presentation of new advancements on our spirituality. And in fact, Sadhguru is teaching that exact thing. So forgive my dog-eared lesson thing for today. This is just what we got, but it's all we need. Okay, so he was asked, does God exist? And this was his answer. This is a video on YouTube. If you search these terms, Sadhguru and does God exist, you can watch this video. So the first thing he does is go into a story about Buddha's understanding. And he said that Buddha was asked by his followers if God exists. And at first, Buddha said no to the followers that already had believed in God. And Sadhguru goes on to explain that in Hinduism, there is this idea that you need to do various things in order to approach God. And some of them are very uncomfortable. And his story was about a man who could only say one word for his entire life because that was his approach to God. They have millions of different approaches. Somebody might lay on a bed of nails. That's where that stuff comes from. In fact, some of them hold their arms up into the air for their entire lives, and the arm becomes a shriveled, deformed stump. And you can look that up. I don't know what the name of it is. And that is supposedly their path to God. They believe that through suffering and dissolving the, pleasure sensation or something like that, that they can attain godhood. And it's not that we need to, and the Urantia book teaches that we don't need to dissolve our pleasure sensation. We need to bring it in line with our higher self. So it's not about destroying the lower self. It's about bringing it in line. And this is what he's saying here. He said that the followers rejoiced when Buddha said that there's no such thing as God, because now they don't have to hold their arm in the air until it dies, and now they don't have to utter the same word over and over again. And so they rejoiced because that was their understanding from God. But as God-knowing individuals understand, God is love, joy. It is a breaking of the shackles. It is living life and enjoying life, but it doesn't involve this type of self-torture idea. So that's why they were extremely positive about that. Now, another follower asked Buddha if there was such a thing as God, and this was a person who didn't believe and was an atheist, and went his whole life teaching people that there was no God. When Buddha said yes to this follower, then this was where this, different confusion came in, because he said no to the first person and yes to the second person. So then Sadhguru says, and this is his quote, "What is the game?" And I cross off the word game because teachers of truth don't need to play games, folks. He says, what is the game Gautama is trying to play? So that's your sign. When you see things like that, games, or in fact, Sadhguru has a thing called a paywall, which you have to pay certain things within his organization to receive various teachings. Truth, if it's going to change the world, it should be there for everyone. The Urantia book's free. You can look at it online for free. And the most important aspect of truth within you is the most free possible thing. So look for those little types of signs, all right, and cross them off. But that's not to throw out his entire lesson. It's just to say that's where he's at on his journey. He's still of the belief that we need to have a paywall, and but that's okay, because we're going to let him do that, and we're going to move beyond it, right? So no games here. Now, what he goes on to say, he says, if you believe there is God or you believe there is no God, then you are in the same boat. Okay? You believe something that you do not know. And this is where the Urantia book has a brilliant answer for this. The Urantia quote is, how do you know that I do not know? And right there, that works on every level. That works on a philosophical, logical level. It works on the heart level. And it should make that person stop dead in their tracks. How does Sadhguru know what is in the caliber of every single person's heart and mind on the planet? How does he know that somebody hasn't attained God? Well, if he does know, and he is just teaching this, this is agnosticism 101 right here, is what he is teaching. Okay? That's what he's saying. You're in the same boat. Neither of you know. Nobody knows, is what he's saying right here. That's agnosticism. So if he's teaching agnosticism, but possibly he knows more than that, then he's playing a game. All right? He should teach what he knows, or he himself is agnostic. But he says something here at the end, which is kind of makes me think that maybe he's just playing a game. And again, we're looking for truth and clarity here, folks. Why do we want to deal with somebody playing games? And again, he has so many, and this is what we're going to see now. He has so many wise approaches that you can learn a very lot from this very wise man. All right, so let's look at this. Everyone can believe whatever they want. It need not have anything to do with reality as such. All right, so he's saying, if you have faith in God, that's not a reality. We don't know if that's reality. So this was his exact words. Again, agnosticism. But this is a level beyond atheism, because atheism is claiming that they know that there's no such thing as God. Even though science doesn't know what caused the Big Bang, they can't prove that. They don't know what caused life. They can get the Big Bang down to the minute it happened, but they can't go beyond that. They can get life down to the single-celled organism that we evolved from, but they can't go beyond that. Then how are these atheists claiming that they know there's no such thing as God? How do they know the advanced secrets of the cosmos from their limited, circumscribed viewpoint here on planet Earth and time and space? So in that way, Sadhguru is an advanced teacher, because he's saying, guys, you don't know. And you will conclude this. If you're an atheist person, sit down and meditate for 5 minutes and really clear your mind, and you will deduce, I don't know that answer. I mean, we know that science hasn't been able to prove various things. That's all you can deduce, right? So he's advanced in that aspect, but he's not following his own advice right here. This is a logical contradiction. He is claiming that he knows what that's his belief, that he knows what everybody knows and what they don't. He doesn't know what people know, right? So that's why, and we're going to look at that in the Urantia book. That is why that's an extremely powerful quote. How do you know that I don't know? And you can reach this knowing level of deity and divinity, which starts as a faith walk, can become a knowing. But you need to have a change of heart in order to embark upon a faith walk. You're not going to get there from logic and reason alone. This is the height of philosophical logic and reason, everybody. And that's why Buddhism was the most advanced philosophy on the entire planet. But it is just a philosophy. When you then start to access the levels of faith, now you're moving towards a religious experience. That's why Buddhism isn't a religion. This is where they arrive at. You can't know this. That's why Buddha says no and yes in the same exact day. There's never going to be logic that proves the reality of God. I can't do it. The Urantia book can't do it. It doesn't want to do it. Faith is always going to be an important step in the universe for you to attain these higher and more advanced levels. That's the way that God designed it. But this is the kicker. When you start off with that faith, you can attain the level of knowing. And it doesn't seem like it's a logical deduction that you would start with faith and then attain knowing. That's counter to science. Science, you start with not knowing, or the faith doesn't enter into it. But it's a good quote is that although it seems illogical and not reasonable that you would attain this through this path, once you discover it, once you discover God, you will find that it is altogether logical and reasonable. And I promise you, if you haven't already, you can attain those levels. But faith is great. Faith is good enough. You can relax and flow. Remember, this is a breaking the shackles. You can flow with faith for this life and beyond onto your progression, however far you want to take it. And eventually, you're going to have these knowing experiences. The pace belongs to you. You could have the knowing experience today. In this very, you have to dedicate. It's because anything less than ideal yields less than ideal results. And that's where the Eastern is advanced, because they teach about self-mastery. The best way that I can describe both of this is that the East has their own understanding, right? Which is all about, it's about self-mastery, extremely advanced, not knocking it whatsoever. Like I said, the most advanced on the entire planet. The West has theirs, which is God, right? Faith, Catholicism, all that. And what the Urantia reveals, it's actually both. This understanding, even the depths of the Eastern understanding of non-personal, consciousness, there's no personal God that one can, that is covered in the Urantia book in the unqualified absolute. They're saying that, yeah, we can't deny that. But let's take it to the next level. God is actually also a person. That's why they call, and write this on your heart and embed this in your mind. Deity, I don't know if I'm spelling this correct, and divinity. Okay, don't write the part about me not knowing how to spell in there. But it's both. Deity is this. Divinity is this. See how easy that is? And that's, but we're so freaking, bogged down by all these various programmings and religions and this and blah, blah, blah. It's design. Our planet is designed that way to keep us anti-God and anti-Christ, because there's evil beings who, control this world, and they want to keep us confused. But the Urantia book, it says, there you go. How easy was that? Okay. Then finally, Sadhguru says this. If you say that you do not know, comma, the longing to know will arise in you. Again, wise approach. If the longing arises, then the seeking arises. And then this is how he closes. Then the possibility of knowing exists. So I'm so confused by his teaching. He's saying the possibility of knowing exists. Then why can't he here say that some people know? It's very confusing to me, but his game that he's playing is he's trying to confuse because he wants people to keep seeking, which is admirable and noble. But then we get the revelation. Well, this is admirable and noble, folks, because some people are so crystallized, even in their Catholicism. They're saying, like, for instance, this is a great example. They're crystallizing their Christianity, and they're saying, I don't need to do self-mastery. All I need to do is faith, right? You guys are trying to, meditate for hours a day and that sort of thing. I can do whatever, as long as I have faith in God and Jesus, I'm going to heaven. But this is where Sadhguru is saying, you got to break that down. Okay, that doesn't make sense. That's not logical and plausible. So we need to combine both of them. Faith will grant you the eternity, but it's the mastery that helps you advance in that eternity, right? If this is your finalizer status, this is where you are here on earth, right? The Christians will say that just one step, die and done. The Urantia book teaches faith will grant you this step, but you might stay on that step for an eternity, okay? If you keep doing your mastery, then you can go to this world. They're all new worlds. They're all new lives, new worlds, but you remember all of them. Or the Urantia book saying you can skip them if you do your mastery here on earth. Remember, a perfect balance of justice and mercy. Okay, so that is it. Now, if Sadhguru has a change of heart, then he will... This is what it takes, a change of heart. Not just a mental exercise, Buddhism is more of a mode of seeking. This change of heart, this activates your faith. There's no way to describe that. There's no way that's why I use the word heart and not mind. You just have to do it for yourself. You have to just say, I'm going to think about all these different aspects, put it all into place and consider it all. I'm not doing blind faith. You can cross that word out of your vocabulary. You're not doing blind, but you are eventually going to arrive at faith if you truly are a seeker of truth. And remember, the pace belongs to you. You can allow this to go on for however you want. Okay, let's do a quick Urantia book reading here. This is on page 1124. The certainty of religious faith. Here we go. The philosophic elimination of religious fear and the steady progress of science add greatly to the mortality of false gods. See, they like science. They want you to include that. All right, false gods. And even though, and this is what Buddha did. That's why when Buddha was so revolutionary for his time, and that's why he practically almost changed the world, but didn't. He changed this so many followed him because they were so sick of all having 400 million gods from Hinduism and 400 million rituals. And even though these causalities of man-made deities, one thing I do want to say though, for some reason, let's go just back to this for 1 second. I don't understand Sadhguru also because he believes in Shiva, or there's some relationship with him and Shiva as well. So I don't know how that fits in. He's got this merger of Buddhism and Hinduism that don't really make sense to me, because what is that Shiva thing? What is his relationship? So maybe if you're a follower of Sadhguru, you can tell me, how can he wrestle those two things? I don't appreciate that stuff in my own spiritual path and journey. When I come across that stuff, I'm like, what the freak? Can't we just get a little simple kind of presentation here? And that's what we're about to get.